I was happy this year to see so many more black writers entered. In the past, there've been very few black writers, and this year it was so much better. However, a distinct lack of black women writers. Now, why do you think that is? Why aren't black women writing in this country?
That's a very, very interesting question, because there are certainly very powerful black women in business and in politics. There are lots of them on the radio. They're editing new magazines. They're writing for newspapers, but they're not writing books. And that's an interesting question. Is it because they believe they make more immediate effect in the media, and what they have to say is heard there?
But is there a need to express themselves any longer? Because if you think about it, if you are able to write, if you are a communicative kind of person, then yes, you are going to be snatched up by the media very quickly, or into PR, or into journalism. You certainly are, and you're going to get paid very well for it. But I mentioned it to Eskia and Patlela, and I said to him, do you feel that there's no longer that need to express that there used to be? And he said, absolutely, that's what he thinks. There's not the need to shout out to, yeah.
But that's a tragedy, because there are such wonderful stories to be told. I mean, the kind of fringe that I look at is those caregivers who work in the townships, those women who run kind of like family hostels for AIDS orphans, for those child-reared families. Now those women are tremendously important. The little sewing groups who make a small living by making children's clothes and school uniforms in the townships for sale in the townships. They have no further ambitions than that. And I am sure there are stories to be told about those women's lives that nobody is telling. Maybe it also is that the new model of the South African woman is in a Mercedes, is very much in charge, in government, flying around the country, very much like our deputy president, and that is the role model, and nobody wants to bother with those little stories anymore. But it is a serious
lack. Nobody wants to challenge that model. Nobody wants to challenge it yet. Maybe it's going to be a time before we do, before black women writers do.
Yes, because they have to get down to the ground to go and study that sort of thing. But one looks at something like the character of Precious Ramotswe in that enormously best-selling range of books by a white man who doesn't live here. But the reality is that she has caught the imagination of the world, and it's not the power Oprah women who are catching they're writing those books about how to live your life and how to be a success and how to manage
selling them
your money,
by the truckload.
and selling them by the truckload, but literary works that tell the real story. So that's a thing. I think the women, the African women of this country, should start looking back at their own heritage and at the reality of the majority, of which they are the privileged minority.